Over the last few years I've looked at many weird maps with many more to come. I've even made a few myself, but I've had an idea of one I've kept putting off before leaving and coming back later. I wanted to make an exploration gallery style weird map, similar to the maps of say Nipper, Xenon, Connie and a whole heap of others. There's endless examples of mappers who create these maps in this particular style. I thought it would be interesting to document my creation process on this, and also motivate me to keep working on it as well. The story of this map starts with two concepts I mashed together: a museum themed TF2 map and a racing themed control points map. First, the racing track map. I had this idea of using Funk Conveyor to push the players around a 5-point control map. If you played this skating ring map, it has a very similar concept. Eventually it was going to be racing themed, but a bit like a more serious version of Wacky Races. A quick breakdown of how this works is Funk Conveyor pushes based on a direction given as an angle. On my track there are 36 different angles the player has moved around. 2 left and right, 2 up and down, and 32 diagonal angles. Up, down, left, right is easy, so let's look at the diagonals. 32 divided by 4 is 8. A circle is 360 degrees. So divide that by 4 and we get 90. Divide that again by 8 for each corner gives us 11.25 degrees. However, I found players would gradually spin in and out on the corners if they stayed on the path for too long. I tried trigger push, but the effect was worse as the Funk Conveyor pushes you from where you were touched, and the trigger would push you from where you entered the trigger area in a 3D space. After doing some mathematics that looked like I was summoning some entity, I managed to get the slide around corners good enough to not be a problem unless the player stayed on the track for a very long time. I worked out the first angle isn't 11.25 but half of it at 5.625, as it's starting in the middle to work out the direction. Afterwards I increased the following angles by 11.25 at a time, resetting every cardinal direction. And this seemed to work. I also slapped a no-build brush on top to stop engineers blocking players. I made a test track map that was roughly going to be city themed and left it there. I think my favourite part of this feature is a lot of the taunts will still work while the player is getting pushed around.
Eat my dust! Play ball!
I also posted this video on my second channel showing things off. Now for the museum side of things. The early examples of this concept include a museum style room I made a very long time ago. This was a more serious idea early on, but I dropped it as it was outside of my level of skill at the time. Instead I went for an exploration style map, filled with interesting exhibits. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. First I made this room based off the rendering at 5 AM video, entertaining. Afterwards I created this room dedicated to 2 trucks, having sex. And Neil banging out the tunes. But all these rooms needed a place to be. This is where I mashed the 2 maps together. I took the rooms from the museum idea and I built them around the push track. I based the layout off my city's museum, which just had opened at the time. It's built around a lot of old buildings, and I thought that would be an interesting idea to replicate. An old prison in the middle had been supplemented by the Dust Bowl shack. One of the new galleries I put up was a haul of reaction images, and then made a video for it showing off the updates. After this video, I added a lobby, kitchen, and a secret tunnel that takes you to a room filled with car pictures. I just had a thing about that at the time. I also set up this gallery for more art I never ended up using. Next, I built up the upper area.
Let's get 'em.
I tried to do some teleporters as I wanted to take players to a more abstract place elsewhere, but something broke between updates and the configs for teleport entities were acting up. I kinda gave up here, and this went into the project black hole for a few years. Eventually I came back to it a few years later and the map stopped compiling. I don't know what happened, but it was a chance for a redo as I wasn't happy with the direction the building went. Too many curvy bits, and I haven't been using viz groups very smartly. They're like Hammer's version of Photoshop layers but in 3D. The map had become a big mess. So I remade everything. Something I noticed is the old map used a lot of entities that could have been used elsewhere in the map, and I wanted to at least keep it under 1,000 edicts for this one. I reused spawn rooms from an older map of mine, which I still think look really nice. I like the idea of players starting out in a normalish TF2 space before entering somewhere different. I went for a squarer shaped museum this time, more of a modern style with lots of glass. I also made some new textures for the pillars and the floors and the ceilings. In general, Source Engine games don't seem to have a lot of good ceiling textures. On the ground floor, I reused all the content from the previous version, but in a more structured, thought out way. I'm really happy with how it came out. I also made a mezzanine level that could be used for an exhibit in the future. When it was time to remake the buildings on the outside, I looked at Koth King and District. I did a lazy copy and paste at first, but wasn't happy with how things looked, so I resized everything to fit a grid, which worked better. I made it so all the buildings have no gaps as well. This looks flatter and a little less exciting, but much easier to manage and optimize. Kinda adds to the surreal feeling I want as well. I probably will change this later. To finish off, I put some more cars and other props in the 2 trucks and shack room, and put in some cube maps. I had to shrink the size due to some issues with building cube maps. And that's it for now. There's still a lot more I need to do. Start the second level, something for the mezzanine level, finish the outside area, re-adding lighting to the tunnel, doing soundscapes, fixing whatever the fuck is going on here. This is just the start. I kind of skipped a bunch of technical stuff because there's a bit of a backstory to this map, but hopefully future videos can be more about the how and why I do things on this map.
Thanks, pal. Danke.